Hi everyone! Welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Shannon. In today's video, we're doing Scholarship Basics 101. This video is going to specifically focus on scholarships that colleges and universities offer their students. Whether you're a parent of a current or future college student, a loved one, or a future or current college student yourself, stay tuned in this video to learn all about basics of scholarships that colleges offer students. A quick background about me before we begin. I've worked at colleges and universities for over 12 years. My roles have specifically been in residence life, so working within the dorms and supporting students that way, supporting students through the scholarship side of financial aid, and on the back end, working with our donors to create and maintain scholarships for students. All the information I'm going to give you in my video are based on my own experiences and my own beliefs. I do not speak for one specific college or university. I am here to give you all the general tips to get you started in the right direction, but I always recommend that you check out the website for your specific college financial aid office to get information about the scholarships that they offer their students. Now let's jump into the basics. For this Scholarship Basics 101, I'm going to talk you through the top 7 most common questions that I have been asked throughout my experience. All right, let's jump in. Question number 1, what is a scholarship? A scholarship is college financial aid that can be used to pay tuition, fees, and other college expenses. The benefit of a scholarship is it is 100% free money. At no point has to be paid back by the student. Now, scholarships can be funded by the college itself, so it's money set aside by the college or university to award to students, or it can be money that is donated by alumni, donor companies, and other individuals who want to see students succeed. So question number 2, how does a student get awarded a scholarship? Most scholarships, but not all scholarships, require your student completing some type of scholarship application. Depending on your student's major, they may need to complete additional requirements to be eligible for scholarships for their major. A few examples of these include auditions. So students who are majoring in music or theater may need to complete an audition to be eligible specifically for the scholarships that are for their specific majors. Students that are majoring in art or architecture or some engineering degrees may need to provide a portfolio of their work to maintain eligibility. Students who are majoring in English may have to provide specific essay examples of their work to be eligible. Students that are in different sciences may have to provide additional letters of rec or showcase different projects that they have been a part of. Requirements for scholarships all depend on the college, so the specific major your student has, and the individual scholarships. My recommendation is to always check out the financial aid website and your student's college department website. This is going to provide you all the information that they need to know if there's any extra steps that they need to complete within their application. Now let's talk about timelines real quick. Colleges typically have their scholarship applications open between October to February. Anywhere within that window is a typical timeline. Some colleges have their own timelines outside of that range though. Now, if a student is applying for scholarships, let's say in January 2026, they're typically applying for scholarships that would be awarded for the 26-27 academic year. We apply pretty far in advance. This gives the college time to review every application, match eligible students, and award those students those scholarships to their financial aid package. It takes a lot of the behind the scenes work to get these scholarships awarded to our amazing students. Now, outside of scholarship applications, your student's college may have specific scholarships that do not require any application. A few examples of these include recruitment scholarships. Now, these scholarships are designed specifically to recruit students into a specific college or major. So there may be money set aside to recruit students who are going to be coming in as business students for the next fall, whether they're first-time students or transfer students. There's also potential recruitment money that is designed to be able to bring students from different areas. So if it is a Northern California school, maybe they have set aside recruitment funding to try to bring students up from Southern California to their university. Now, there's also other types of scholarships that may not require an application. This could be money that is set aside specifically for scholarships to retain students. So some colleges have designed scholarships that are automatically awarded to students who meet a certain GPA requirement or certain involvement level. It all depends on the college and what they offer. So in the end, I always recommend that your student applies every single year for their college's scholarship application, but also know there are scholarships they may not have to apply to that they may receive based on eligibility. Question number 3, what are scholarships based off of? There's an unlimited combination of criteria to create scholarships. Let's go through some of the most common criteria. So here's a list of the most common scholarship criteria. This includes your student's major, their GPA, and this does not just mean straight their GPA. Some scholarships have specific GPA requirements, like having a 4.0 GPA. Some have a range, like the scholarship is looking for students that have between a 3.5 GPA and above, while others will have a range that's more middle of the road, like it is designed specifically for students who have a 2.0 to 3.0 GPA. Another criteria can be enrollment status. So this means if they are a first-year student coming to college for the first time, if they're a continuing student who's already been enrolled, or they're an incoming transfer student. Class level can also be a criteria. This includes first-year students, sophomores, juniors, seniors, grad students, and credential students, and doctoral students, depending on the university. Financial need. Financial need is a big one. Financial need is determined by their score, their SAI score, from the FAFSA application that your student fills out. Now, scholarships can have a wide variety of how they determine need based on that SAI score. They may have criteria that is a yes, no. So yes, the student has financial need, or no, they do not need to have financial need based on their FAFSA. They may also have levels of need. So based on the FAFSA, do they have a high need of financial aid? Do they have a medium range of financial need? Or do they have a low range of financial need? Or do they have none? Typically, none happens when a student does not complete their FAFSA, so there's no data for the system to import for them. Scholarships can also be based on if your student is a member of an athletic team, whether that is an NCAA team or that is a campus-sanctioned athletics team that is outside of NCAA. Relationships, this is a large category. So depending on the school that your student attends, they may define this differently, but there can be scholarships designed for first-generation students. So they are the first student in the family to go to college. Scholarships that are made for students who are raised in a migrant farm worker family. There are scholarships for students who are raised in foster care. There are scholarships for students who are considered re-entry, which is defined differently per school, but is typically defined as a student who came to college and took at least a 5-year break from school before returning. That is considered a re-entry student. There are scholarships for students who are dependents of veterans, members of a federally recognized tribe, current dependents for a faculty or staff member at the specific college or the college system. So for example, I have previously worked at California state schools, the CSUs. So sometimes that could mean that that student attends a university and they are a child of a faculty or staff member who works at that specific school or one of the 23 campuses within the CSU system. There's scholarships designed for individuals who are single parents or are a parent of a child under the age of 24 or a different age range. There are also scholarships that are designed for children who are the child or grandchild of an alumnus from that campus. There's also participation in special organizations, so this can include MESA, Upward Bound, Talent Source, and all different kinds of organizations that your student may have been involved in while they were in high school or in college. There's scholarships that are based on their future career interests, so maybe they want to specifically work in regenerative agriculture or specifically work in accounting. Scholarships can be based on those future career interests that they have. There's scholarships that are based on club participation, so many times alumni will come and create scholarships for students that are in the clubs that they once participated in that are on campus. There's scholarship-specific leadership positions, so if your student is involved in leadership on their campus, whether it's a club or student government, or they are in a leadership position in another role outside of the college, there's potential for scholarships for those. There's scholarships that are based on their involvement in community service, their language skills. So there are scholarships designed specifically for students who speak more than one language and for students that speak specific languages. So there are scholarships that are designed specifically for students who speak Spanish, who speak Japanese. It all just depends on what the college offers. One that I've found pretty popular over the last few years is for students who have graduated from a specific high school, middle school, or elementary school. Alumni from those specific schools are designing scholarships to have students from that high school, from that middle school, from that elementary school go to the specific college or university and support them on their journey. And those are pretty cool, to know that High School X is providing a scholarship from the alumni board to specifically get students to that college. There's also scholarships for geographic region, so this means that your student either grew up or graduated from a high school or community college within a specific county or a specific city. There's also scholarships that are designed for interest in study abroad or programs that would take the student outside of the college or university while getting their degree. And then we've also seen a trend in donors providing scholarships for students who are working while in school. They are recognizing the toll that that takes on students to work while earning their degree, and so they want to help them out. This is just a short list, if I'm being honest, of scholarship criteria. It could be endless. It all depends on the donor, the state and federal regulations. There's endless possibilities, but these are ones that make up the most common combinations that I've seen. The question number 4, can a scholarship be renewable for more than 1 year? So yes, college scholarships can be renewable for more than 1 year, but it all depends on the scholarship. Every single scholarship has what is called guidelines. Those are the rules for the scholarships. And there's different versions of renewable. So a few versions are guaranteed renewable. What this means is once your student is a recipient of the scholarship and they maintain their eligibility, they will continue to receive the scholarship year after year. Now, depending on the scholarship's guidelines, it'll have a maximum of how many years the scholarship can be awarded to your student, and it will also provide the requirements your student must meet to maintain that scholarship. If your student received a scholarship, there could be the potential of it being renewable. Now, this is a potential renewability. This is when your student could receive the scholarship for more than 1 year, but it is not guaranteed. So your student would still reapply for the scholarship and follow all of the requirements and maintain eligibility, but there may be the opportunity that another candidate comes along who is better matched to the scholarship or is rated higher this year within the application who could receive the scholarship over your student. Now, this is always very unfortunate, but many scholarships are not guaranteed to be for multiple years. So there is the potential with some, but it's not always guaranteed. Finally, there are scholarships that are not renewable. These are scholarships that I like to call a one and done. Your student receives them for 1 year only and then is ineligible for receiving them again within their college experience. Now, really, these are designed by donors who want to more so spread the wealth of their scholarship, making sure that every single year they are helping a new student be able to reach their educational dreams. If your student receives a scholarship, I highly recommend for them to reach out to their financial aid office. This is where they're going to be able to ask what are the specific requirements for the scholarship they received, and they can ask, is it a guaranteed renewable? Do they need to do any specific steps to maintain their eligibility? Is it a potential renewable of they may be eligible next year for it if they continue to meet the requirements, but they may not receive it? Or is it a one and done scholarship that they are no longer eligible for? It is good to know all the facts about the scholarships your students receive. You never know. Your student may miss out on an opportunity if they don't ask the questions. Question number 5, the big question, how does my student receive the money? Scholarships that are awarded by your student's college or university are all going to be applied to their financial aid package. Now this is packaged together with any aid they receive through completing their FAFSA, so all grants, loans, financial work study, anything that is coming from completing their FAFSA application and being awarded to them, scholarships will join that pile of funding. Now, scholarships, just like other aid, are first applied to any tuition, fees, or other outstanding payments your student has to their college or university. Like if they're living on campus, many times those fees are taken out the same way as tuition and fees are. Once all of that funding is done, they take the total of the aid your student received minus everything they owe the university, and then whatever is left over is considered a refund. Now, this is what is then provided back to your student, typically through direct deposit if your student signs up, to be able to pay for those outside college expenses that are not directly at the college. So that is paying for books, it's paying for notebooks, it's paying for a laptop maybe being used to rent, or food. That is that extra funding that they receive for everything else that comes along with being a college student. If your student attends a college that is based on semesters, so there's a fall and spring semester, their overall aid is divided in half. So 50% of their aid is used for fall semester and 50% is used for spring semester. So for example, if your student receives $20,000 in financial aid, that is $10,000 that is used for fall semester and $10,000 that's used for spring semester. So let's just talk about fall. Fall aid, they have $10,000. And let's just say that tuition is $8,000 even. Once that tuition is paid to the college, $2,000 would then come back to your student to use for all their other expenses. So rent, books, laptops, notebooks, any other college-related expenses that they have. The remaining $10,000 will happen in the spring. So once again, that $10,000 of spring aid will minus out tuition and will be left with the remainder, the $2,000 for your students to use for spring semester. It's a pretty similar process if your student goes to a school that is on quarter systems. Now it is just their aid divided by 3. So that is fall quarter, winter quarter, and spring quarter. So let's say, to make the numbers really easy, if your student received $9,000 in financial aid, it would be $3,000 that they'd be able to use in the fall, $3,000 for winter, and $3,000 for spring. Now that example is not a lot of aid, and so what would happen in this example, assuming tuition is still, let's say, $8,000 a quarter, your student is going to owe $5,000 in tuition and fees to the college that they'll have to pay out of pocket or through a payment plan. Everything is just dependent on your student's individual financial aid package. Whether your student's on a semester system or quarterly system, it is important for them to know the exact cost of tuition and fees. Also, depending on your student's major or classes they're enrolled in, there sometimes are extra institutional fees or classroom fees that are added on that may increase their generalized tuition and fee payment that they're used to paying. So let's say they take an extra class that has a special fee in spring semester. They may receive back less of that refund than they did in the fall because their cost to the institution is higher in the spring. Now, I recommend that your student checks out their financial aid website and learns how to enroll in direct deposit. If your student does not enroll in direct deposit with their university, that refund check gets mailed to the address on file. Now, depending on if your student updated their address or not, that may be their local address to the college, or it may be a check being mailed all the way back home to home base, what they put on their actual college application. Direct deposit is going to be the smoothest, easiest process for everyone, so I recommend they check out how to enroll on their financial aid website. Question number 6, can my student lose their scholarship mid-year? The answer is unfortunately yes. Students can lose their scholarship throughout the academic year for various reasons. I'm going to talk you through the top reasons they may lose their scholarship. The number one reason I saw the most in my time working with scholarships and students is switching their major. If your student's scholarship is based specifically on their major and they switch to something completely different, they're no longer going to be eligible for their scholarship. Many times I would see this where I had students, let's say, who were an ag student when they received their scholarship. And it was a scholarship designed specifically for ag majors. And then by spring, they have switched their major to business. They're no longer eligible for that scholarship. What happens then is your student loses that scholarship and it's awarded to the next student in line. So the funding is still provided to students in need, but only students who are eligible for that scholarship. If your student is at any point thinking about switching their major and they had any scholarships, I recommend that they go talk to their financial aid office and make sure that those scholarships are not tied to their major. If they are tied to their major and they're switching to something that is still within the same college, there may be some wiggle room. Let's say if they are moving from accounting to finance. Depending on the scholarship, there may be some wiggle room. It is best to ask and find out what the possibilities are. But it's also best to know that if it is not a possibility to keep the scholarship, to know as soon as you and your student can to be able to best financially prepare. The second most common issue I saw was students not maintaining their GPA requirement. So for example, if the scholarship requires your student to have a 3.0 GPA and they do not meet that requirement, whether that's their semester GPA or their cumulative GPA, their quarterly GPA, depending on how the scholarship or your student's college is designed, they may lose out on the scholarship. Sometime, depending on the scholarship, there is a buffer zone. Some scholarships are designed to where they will put you on probation in a sense. So let's say your student got a 2.9 GPA instead of a 3.0 GPA. There may be a probation wiggle room to where your student can still keep the scholarship because they were super close. But not all scholarships are designed to provide that wiggle room. So maintaining the GPA requirement is very important. If your student's having a rough semester and they already know, let's say by November, they're not going to meet the GPA requirement for their scholarship, it's best to reach out to financial aid as soon as they can to see what help they can get. Is there any wiggle room? Can they ask for an exception? Can they put in an appeal to be able to keep their scholarship? Can they be pointed in the right direction to other resources on campus that may be able to help them pull up their grades for the end of the semester to keep that scholarship? Knowing the options is better than not knowing. The third most common thing I saw for students losing their scholarship was not maintaining their credit hour requirements. So depending on the scholarship, there may be a credit hour or a unit requirement. So at many schools, 12 units is considered full-time, and many scholarships require full-time enrollment. If your student drops below that full-time enrollment, they potentially could lose their scholarship. Once again, just like with GPA, if your student knows they're going to be taking less units, it's best for them to go ask their financial aid department those questions to see if there's wiggle room. This also was very common with students who were taking less units their last semester of college. Let's say in fall they took 12, they are full-time enrolled, but in the spring they only have 6 units left that they need to take to graduate, and there's no reason for them to take more. Sometimes the financial aid office is able to work with other campus partners and donors to make exceptions as the student is graduating and there is no reason for them to take more units. It's not always possible, but you won't know unless you ask. And many offices are trying to lean towards supporting the students not taking unnecessary classes and will rally behind the students to try to get that exception made whenever possible. Now, the final reason I saw students losing scholarships were from academic dishonesty or disciplinary issues. And this boils down to the behavior you should not do while in school. So academic dishonesty, a student was caught cheating, they were caught severely plagiarizing something to the point where the college was putting them on some sort of probation or, hey, you were on thin ice. Disciplinary wise, the same thing. And I'm not talking about your student got caught drinking alcohol in the dorms, they, got a little intoxicated, they smoked some marijuana. I'm talking about the bigger things, the assault things, the breaking things, the things that the police get involved in. If your student is not a good image for the university, depending on the college or university, there may be a clause for scholarships where they are not representing the university well, that they could potentially lose their scholarship. These are all very tough and hard things, and your student will know if they have done something big enough to warrant potentially losing a scholarship. Those are the big things that they hopefully call home and get support on. If those things for some reason do happen, they need to reach out to their financial aid office and see if there's any way that any exceptions could be made. Now, these are truthfully, most students aren't doing these things. These aren't common situations, but by asking and working with the offices, maybe there can be exceptions made. With all of these reasons, students may lose scholarships. The big takeaways I want for you to have are: it never hurts to ask for an exception, and communicating early is always best. If at any point your student believes they may no longer be eligible for a scholarship, or a situation arises where they might be an exception, asking early and asking in general are the most important things that need to happen. All right, our final question. Question 7. Does my student need to complete their college or university scholarship application every year? The big answer is yes. Yes, they need to complete the scholarship application every single year. So why does your student need to apply every year? Every single year, there are new scholarships being created. There is different funding. There's more funding being created by donors and companies supporting the university. The college may have received grants or extra money that can be awarded to students. Every single year, the playing field changes, and your student may be eligible for brand new things that weren't here last year. But also, as we talked about earlier with the qualifications for scholarships, your student is also changing, whether they change their major or now their year in school has changed. A great example of this is many donors lean towards wanting to provide support for students who are very involved and committed to their major. So an example of this is donors have a tendency to write into their scholarship guidelines, those scholarship qualifications and rules, that their students need to be juniors or seniors in a specific major, because to them that shows that the student is really invested in that major or that future career path. So your students' chances of receiving a scholarship actually increase the longer they are in school, as they are becoming that junior, senior, or super senior. That is really showing those donors that they are committed to their major and career path. And so their chances are higher the longer they're in school. From my experience, the majority of college scholarships are designed for one or two things. They are designed to recruit students into a college or major, or they are made to support students who are truly committed to a college, whether that is a specific major within it or a specific career path. So really, your students' chances of applying and receiving a scholarship increase every single year. Don't allow your student to give up. There are many easy ways for them to make the application process simpler for themselves, and in future videos I'm going to go over the basics of college scholarship applications and tips to make that process so much smoother and less intimidating for them. So do not give up. Do not let yourself or them get discouraged, because every year their odds of receiving a scholarship increase. Alrighty y'all, so that was Scholarship Basics 101 with the top 7 questions that I received when I worked within scholarships. All of this information is generalized, like I have said before. For specific details, you and your student need to be checking out their specific college or university's financial aid website. Please, if you want more information though, and more tips and tricks on completing scholarship applications, tips and tricks on getting jobs while in college, or general college and dorm advice, please subscribe to my channel. Every week, I'm going to provide videos and tips and tricks on how to make the college process easier, whether that's for you as a parent to support your student or for your student. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat below, and I will do my best to respond to comments there, but also provide answers in future videos. I am here to be your resource. Let me know how I can help. I hope you have a wonderful day.